So he's got a mop, guys, so we're gonna start with some scissor work. See the cape, DFS formula. That's what we're gonna be explaining today, guys, at least for the scissor work portion. Majority of this cut is gonna be scissor work, and we're just gonna do a little taper on the sides. So I want this hair fully saturated. He got a lot of hair. I wanna make sure I can comb through it. There's some product in it already, so I'm gonna soak this all the way down. I'll probably end up using this whole water bottle on this one part just to make sure I can comb through it nice and clean, get clean sections. So just slowly working through it. So while I'm wetting it and moving it around, I'm looking for the growth pattern. I'm looking for the crown in the back. It's actually way high up here. Well, that's gonna be interesting. Starting to pay attention to the pattern of the hair. I found the crown. I can see where it's spiraling out. I wanna comb with that. And I'm just working this all out. We're gonna section the top off out of the way, cut the sides first, we'll cut the top last. So I found the crown up here. It's a little bit high. I like to use all the wide teeth. You see that gives you guys a bunch of grooves. Now I can look at what is the top, what is the side, perfect part. So a lot of people struggle with parts. That's my easiest tip for doing clean parting. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And I'm just pushing it on the head shape. The comb will naturally move. So when I just pull this forward, it's gonna kind of show me where it wants to go. Nice clean section to start with. You guys see up here in the front, that hair is clearly wants to go this way. We just resection until it's not fighting where it wants to go. Now that's laying clean, comb it up, and we have our side sectioned out of the way. So the beauty of the DFS formula is that we're always gonna start off sectioning like this. Then we're gonna set a foundation around this perimeter, basically in the middle, from the widest point of the head, from the parietal ridge. We're gonna set a length here that's gonna determine the rest of the haircut. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna go tight to the head, like pretend this is a regular crop, all the way around. And then we're gonna leave this hair at the bottom, and I'll show you when I tie it in. We're gonna tie it back into the length at the bottom. Widest point of the head is gonna be right above the ear usually. So I'm gonna start there, and I'm gonna do basically like a normal crop on the sides. So I'm looking at his head shape, I'm finding the parietal ridge. That's where I'm cutting my initial guide into. Fingers against the head. Cut that line in. While it's still in my hand, grab the next section, follow it forward. And you guys will see where I cut that, my clipper work's gonna be able to tie right into that. And all the weight, we're gonna leave that weight on purpose. That's where we just cut on purpose. I'm gonna follow that all the way around the head. This is our foundation. So my top is gonna tie into this. And like I just said, we're gonna take the back of the head. And when we get to it, I'll show you guys. But you see we have a guide all the way around. Just keep working from where I cut it, pulling it straight out. There's my cut. Just continue to work. I'm gonna go back up to this front where we started, where I know my fingers were against the head, just like we started the other side. And once that's done, I'll connect back into back here where we just finished up. Now I'm just working from here back to this. And you guys will see in a second how it's gonna all tie together. But with this formula, this is our foundation. So DFS starts with direction. We found the direction of the hair, the way it wanted to go. Like in the corners, we sectioned it according to how it wanted to go, not fighting what it wants to do. Now I'm gonna turn them forward towards you guys. Take the clips out, straight towards the middle of the front. And some people's hair will show you right here where it wants to split. He has a little bit of a split right there. That's where I'm gonna take it. And again, the wide teeth give me big grooves in the hair to help me section it nice and clean. You guys see when I pull this out, can you see the guide underneath that we already cut? A little bit of hair on top. Now we're deciding how we want this to tie in. It's a crop, I want it to be kind of heavy. So if I bring it all the way down to the line that I cut, it's gonna be super heavy. If I pull it up towards my chest, and that's how we teach elevation, and you guys struggle with thinking about 45 degrees, 90 degrees, all of that. So we teach it like, if I pull to my belly button, that's low elevation, it's gonna be heavy. If I pull to my chest, that's a little more elevated. If I pull to my chin, that's even more elevated, just to simplify it. So I'm gonna elevate it to my chest because I want it just kind of, not too round, but not too heavy either. So I'm bringing it straight to my chest. I'm looking underneath for the guide that I cut from the beginning, tying it in, working my way around. The same thing, if you guys can't see it, hold the hair, pull it up, find your guide, connect it in, and cut that line all the way out to the front. And without teaching this, I can move through this process in 5 minutes, the whole top. So you guys see how that lays in? For me, that was the hardest part of the haircut before. I could do the clipper work, I could cut the top, but like this was always, and then I end up like clipper overcombing all of it off or thin and shearing until it looks decent. So you can see we got a nice crop. So now you guys see if we take this hair, we pull it all the way out here. See how long it is? The hair coming from right here only has to go to here. So it's shorter, do you see that? So all we have now, and again, this is part of the process. Zone 1 and 2 is what we call it, was the first part that we did around the sides. 3 and 4 was this. Zone 5 is down the middle. And because we over-directed to each side, when I take a section, you guys see the triangle that we made? All we gotta do is take that off. That's it. All this was already cut to fill this space, right? So now we don't wanna round it and take all that off. We just left it on purpose. So we'll work our way back to front. Again, once it starts to fall out on the sides, that's the length that I want. That's leaving everything here to be square. Come through and point cut. You can cut it blunt if you want. I want to do a little texture. So now all we have to do is one pass through. Falling out. Regrip it if you need to. Falling out over here. Boom. Stuff like this, sectioning and doing all that would have just taken me forever before. This just really simplified it for me. And it's tailored to every head. So now I can come through just one more time to check for anything that's out of the ordinary. Looks pretty good. A little bit more back here. I have a guide here. This is the line I'm about to cut in. It's gonna leave this and get us tight to the head right here. So I'm gonna start in the middle. So with DFS, your guide is always at the top. We have a guide right here all the way through the haircut for the rest of the haircut. So I'm taking a section so you guys can see my guide. If I pull this all the way out at the bottom, you see the line we're gonna cut? And now I know what line I'm gonna cut. So all I'm doing is taking off what's between there. And I'm gonna do it a little looser. I want a little messy style in the back. I could use a razor here too. The same thing. Here's my guide down here. We know we just need to go from the cut out to the length at the bottom. Now I'm gonna razor this. So the same cut we just did from the top guide to the bottom. At the top where it falls out, I'm gonna pull past it. Cut my way down. And again, we're stopping at the length that we already have at the bottom. I don't want to take all that off because I want to leave this down here. And you see we still got our mullet at the bottom, but all this is a lot tighter than it was when we started. So now we'll just continue around. I'm just working a loose blow dry, guys. I like to cut clipper work into dry hair. I used to come in the shop, wet somebody's hair down, comb it out how I wanted it, with it wet, and then come in with my clippers and try to connect, and it would make the harshest line I ever had. I like to use it dry. Little tip for you guys in the crown, hold your finger in the middle, and it's gonna dry the way that it wants to go, because that's what causes everybody's hair to stick up, right? I'm just trying to get it dry, like specifically this area where the clippers are gonna be. Now I can come in, this is a number 3, so you can see it blends right into the crop. So we're just trying to get a panel for a taper, and then we're good. That was a big help for me. So my objective right now is just to get the side to a 3. And then here I'm looking at what hair needs to come off to tie in clean. So if I'm finger length here, and I have a guide here, all I need to do is connect the two together.
You'll get one of our infamous change-ups absolutely free. Okay? When it comes to our infamous show, it's 50% off. If you guys decide to get, we have what we call accounting services. We bought it, like, I've been doing it for 6 years. I went to go buy a house a year and a half ago, and I didn't have why, because I didn't have the proper account for you. We might have escort yet, they'll get you that as well. Right? So we're able to offer an all-in-one a la carte finances.
All right, so we mentioned that, you know, the more hair on top, the more difficult we make it on ourselves. Right now, I'm treating this like it's a 3. I'm not worried about anything else except for what we just made a 3. I'm not gonna allow myself to like overthink it. All I gotta do is a normal taper. So I did my open section. That's an open 1. You can see he got that good light stuff. It's gonna blend pretty easy. Closed 1. Half guard in between those two, just where it needs it. And we started with a 3, I'll go straight to a 2, and this last line is all we got to work out. I also noticed on his hair, it's so springy that the 3's sticking out a little bit, so I'm gonna do a little more 2 than maybe I would have. And as long as it's tying into the 3, we're good. Now 1.5 underneath that, just in case. And I like to work my taper up, then I'll go back down. Just work my way back down, and we're just gonna take that 1 up into it, close it a little bit. We'll just continue to work down. Nice easy taper. While I'm over here, slight C cup, line it up. I'm just looking at where it's full.
How long do you think you can this?
The hardest thing for me when I first learned this was there's a lot of tutorials, and I think too often we get caught up on learning a technique and only being able to apply it to that one haircut or that one hairstyle versus understanding parts of it that we can apply to any haircut. So for me, it was the same thing. Most of us getting up here cutting are going to use the formula and put out a bunch of different styles of haircuts. I did. Yeah, we're quick to invest in our tools. Some of us don't want to learn, don't want to think we need to learn. And I think some of the hairstyles you see maybe on CJ's page or Josh's page using the formula look like crazy stuff that you'll never do in the shop. But exactly how I did this crop can be used just to do a regular crop in the shop, and it speeds it up so much. Or if you're doing a full scissor cut, you know, I used to try to do those, and I had no idea why I was cutting anything the length that I was cutting it. I was just pulling hair out and cutting it. So this process is just gonna give you a reason why you're doing things. Kind of lock in the why, which I think is the most important. So really you see, we did the scissor work pretty quick. You guys ever spend 20 minutes on one part of a haircut and it doesn't get any better? It happens. So that's because your eye you're just looking at the same thing over and over. So a huge tip for you guys, you know, step away, go do the other side, move on to the lineup, then come back. And sometimes taking your eye off of it will help you come back and see some things that you didn't see.
Anybody take a picture of their hand? You're zooming too much, and there's mad pixels in the eye, and you're able to see that. For his touch card.
All right, so we're gonna hit this C cup. Now we want the length around the ear, so I'm gonna come from the front and round into the length. I don't wanna take the length away. So where it's short and it needs to be sharp, we're gonna line up. Once it starts to get long, we're gonna leave it alone. Again, I want this longest over here. We're gonna clipper all this off, I just decided. So in the middle, it's gonna be straight across. I'm gonna cut basically a straight line all the way across. And again, part of doing DFS formula is understanding. Over direction is a term that throws us off a lot. But understanding when we pull hair different ways, what it gives us. If I cut this in, what shape am I gonna have? A round shape, right? If I cut this in, the longest hair is gonna be at the corners, which is what I want. So I'm cutting it just over to the corner. I'm not gonna round it in and take all that off. I know what clippers do different things well, right? So I just went and took this off the display because my low pro is not the best at feeding hair. I think these FXs are some of the best. Clippering the sides to a 4. We need it to tie in right there. So right now, if I pull it out, you see where the finger length is. So I need to cut from up here down to the bottom. The heat of the blow dryer is going to move it through the hair, and I'm going to slowly build that style versus building the style with no product and then trying to smash product on top of it at the end. So I'm putting it in the areas that I want. So again, we're going to work from the crown forward. That's why we cut it all on purpose. We put everything where we wanted. The top's going to just go pretty forward. We're going to clean that fringe up in a second. So now back here, I'm just going to start to work this with my hands. So now I'm just going to come in and round it around the front and get that crop look. The line from the other side, connect it together. So I'm just looking for anything out of the ordinary.
We always talk about different products with Tomb 45, but I believe that there's one that is underrated that you never hear about, and is my favorite product. This right here, for the Tomb 45 airbrush cleaner for the Beam Team XL. This stuff is phenomenal. Let me tell you what, my airbrush gun, it used to get clogged up all the time, but ever since we got this, man, this stuff better than alcohol. I don't know what kind of magic they put in this stuff, but let me tell you what, man, it cleans your airbrush. I just put it in there and I leave it overnight. When I get here in the morning, it's ready to go, never clogs up, and it's all because of this stuff right here. So you better get you some of this if you use your airbrush.
All right, so we're gonna apply some 245 pump powder. So I'm just gonna pull the hair up, get it up underneath, down in the hair, down to the root, a little bit on top. And you guys see how much that dries it up, brings the texture out. That's it, y'all.